in the world. Now, what's your story? What's your story all about? Well, this is the fourth session we've had, and it started with an idea I had around the fact that I speak to so many people that I thought, wow, you have a great story. We need to find a way to share your story. Now, some of you may have heard our wonderful guest who's joined us today. You may have heard her sing at the event we had with Sean Miller a few weeks ago. And I said to Chloe, please, will you be a guest speaker? And it wasn't very hard in twisting her arm. And she said, yes, I'd love to. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me welcome Chloe Ray to the stage. And wherever you are, I know some people are saying, oh, this is a bit strange, never used Crowdcast or webinar before. So many people are so used to Zoom, but we're doing something totally different today. So you can do whatever you want in the background. You can go and make a cup of tea, get a drink. Just make sure you are nice and relaxed, because I promise you the next hour is going to be absolutely fantastic. Chloe, thank you so much for joining today.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure to be here today. Thanks for having me on your show.
I think Crowdcast is something new to you as well.
It is. It's totally new for me as well. I've never used this before, but it's working. It's fine.
Yeah, and I'm hoping.
The thing is, with all these online things, is they're all pretty similar, I think, in terms of what they provide. But it's quite nice to try something new as well. Why not?
Absolutely. And I'm quite excited as well, because this is the first time we're actually feeding this live to YouTube. And I'm going to put this little plug out there. I checked the number of subscribers we have for My London Voice YouTube channel, and we have a whopping 2. So after this, I'm going to be emailing everyone and saying, please do subscribe as well to our YouTube channel. Right, Chloe, singer-songwriter. I know this is a question I'm sure you get asked time and time again.
Yeah.
When did it all start? When did you decide that this is what I want to do? I want to create music.
Well, it's an interesting thing, because I was a quite young growing up, and obviously, but my mother had some really cool musical tastes, shall we say, quite an eclectic collection. And you know, growing up, I remember when, like, my mum and dad split up when I was about 9, and I think for me that was when my mum started playing a lot of music very loudly, shall we say. And I started singing along and playing along, and I just remember going through her collection and finding loads of different artists that I adored, like Nick Drake. I remember finding 5 Leaves Left and putting that on my little stereo in my bedroom, and then with my tennis racket imitating playing the guitar. And he is a genius. He can play literally everything going. I mean, he makes his own chords up, and you can't really recreate. It's a known thing that it's really hard to play his songs. So I used to try with my tennis racket. Obviously that didn't work out for me, but
after you try today, you can get the tennis racket out.
Yeah. After a few months, I definitely said to my mum, like, you know, I need to upgrade the tennis racket. And at the time she was like, well, you need to go to school. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that thing called school. So she made me, like, she said, if you go for a whole year and you're on time and you're there every day, 100% attendance, come home, I'll buy you a guitar. So I literally went in every single day early, and I got it. And then one day I was late and I begged my form tutor. I was like, please, I need to get this guitar. And she was like, yeah, that's fine. And I ran home with this 100% attendance record. And my mum was like, oh my God, you actually did it. So she took me down to this music shop and I picked up my first guitar, and it was like 60 quid. But when I walked in, I said to the owner, I was like, these guitars are filthy. And he was like, well, do something about it then. And I was like, well, give me a job. So at 15, not only had I got my first guitar, but I was started working at Bum Note Music in Carshalton, and it was my first little Saturday job, cleaning guitars.
Fantastic. May I ask what make of guitar that was?
It was a Stag, and I've still got it. It's in my mum's attic, and it's this Stag with these strings that were really far away from the fretboard, but it was dark blue faded into black, and I loved it. Yeah, it's a real budget guitar, but learning on that definitely taught me how to play, because any other guitar I played was like a lot better. So in that respect, it definitely helped me. And, you know, now I'm playing like Faith guitars and they're absolutely stunning and they're crafted so beautifully. And yeah, I still remember the Stag days, and Stag is a great company as well. So
I've just seen Andy back. He's going, yeah, five leaves left. You know, he's a big fan as well. So got Trisha as well saying welcome, Chloe, and quite a few other people.
Hi.
So lovely to have all of you joining us today. Let's also question, because so many musicians are influenced by bands. Now you've mentioned a couple, but what other musicians and bands would you care to mention?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of music, I just love any singer-songwriter with a guitar and a story. And I think for me, it doesn't matter where they're from or who they are or whether they're famous or not. I mean, I've had the same effect has happened from seeing a local act that's undiscovered for me, and then as well as seeing a huge superstar, you know. But for me, it is just literally what they're saying. And I've been very much in tune to the lyrics. And I was having a conversation the other day with a friend of mine, and some people don't hear lyrics. They just hear like the bass line or the drum beat or something else in that song. But for me, I just hear lyrics, and the rest of it isn't irrelevant, but for me, that's just the tool to driving those lyrics. So anyone with a good story, like I love Springsteen, I love Jeff Buckley, obviously I love Johnny Cash and everything, but then in their own right, there's musicians that I love in my local area, like Scott McFarlane and Ann Sumner, and there's some great musicians right now running around town with just guitars. And for me, that's really exciting, with great stories to tell.
Yeah, I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later, because that's an exciting project which kicked off during lockdown. But
yeah,
before that, in terms of your journey, and I mean, you started playing at the age of 15, but you had a talent and you were, one could say, discovered, but you had mentors along the way. So any particular mentors that you'd like to shout out, or people that helped you,
Yeah,
particularly
definitely.
with your first EP that came out?
Yeah, I mean, for me, there was this weird time where I remember like my mum was my biggest sort of, well, my only fan for many years. And like, you know, she used to come into my bedroom and like, she just allowed me to be who I wanted to be. So she was the first person that really said to me, you know, you do what you want to do and don't worry about being anything that you don't want to be, just be you. And I remember thinking, oh, wow, that's really freeing. So she was the first person that inspired me to make me think, okay, maybe I can just do this crazy idea with my tennis racket and go for it. And I used to sit in front of Later with Jules Holland on the TV in my Christmas pajamas. And I used to sit there and just stare at it. And she'd be like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm going to be on there one day. And she was like, you don't even play an instrument. I was like, I'm going to play the guitar and be on there one day. She was like, okay, dinner's ready in a minute. I was like, okay. You know, and then moving on from that, I then took that and started crafting my own songs. And I had a couple of years where I thought, I need to get a job and I need to start a career and earn money and be an adult. And then I took about 2 years away from it all. And I remember not feeling very happy. And then suddenly this place called the Brook in Wallington opened up, and it was this small little cafe, and people were like heading in there with guitars. It was exciting for me. And I was like, oh, I do that. I kind of do that. Do I do that? I think I do that. And then I went in there with my guitar, and I remember it very vividly because I had like this partner at the time that was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? Why would you go down there? I don't like it down there. Or, you know, saying weird things to me. And I remember just thinking, oh no, I love it. It's great. And I just ignored that. And every Thursday I would go down and sing in this little cafe. And I started singing songs that I'd never performed before. And the first time I was down there, Andy Brooke himself was, you know, I had this guy on drums just jump up, and then a guy on bass, and then there was a pianist. And that ended up being my band, which is hilarious. But Andy Brooke was like, this song, New York, he was like, I love it. He was like, come in and record a record with me. And I was like, what? How am I going to do that? Like, I don't even know what this is. Like, And he was like, no, come and record a record. So with that Sunday, we just went in blind and recorded the first EP, and that was it. It just took off from there.
And that was Waiting Room.
Yeah, that was the Waiting Room.
So what was in the name, Waiting Room? Was it just a metaphor for you biding your time and waiting for this moment?
Yeah, in that respect, it kind of was that. It was like that questioning of, well, what have I been waiting for? And but then also on the flip side of that, which is something that I don't always talk about, was that you know, I had a grandmother who suffered with mental illness, and growing up with her was so cool. She was the coolest person in the world. And you know, I remember being in and out of like the Springfield with her. So actually for me, there was a deeper meaning behind it from spending my time in this waiting room. And then there was a point where I thought I was having mental health problems, and I remember going in and then being like, no, you're fine. But there was that whole point of that song, interestingly, was like, and at the end of it, it's like, what are you in for? She said, I don't understand the world out there. And that's the main problem that I realized that I had, was that it wasn't necessarily me being unwell. It was the fact that I didn't necessarily understand or agree with a lot of things in the world, and that was okay. And coming to terms with that was probably a massive point for me. So titling it that made sense, because it was like, actually, this is me, and I'm not gonna be defined by anything else. I'm just gonna be happy and go forward and do what I want to do, and that's making that album. And yeah, it was quite an exciting time. And I remember sitting on the train traveling back from work. I worked in Camberwell in London, and the train stopped and the doors opened, and in front of me was the front cover of the EP was the waiting room door. And I just pulled out my phone and took that picture, and then I sent it straight to Andy, and he was like, I need the front cover. And I was like, there it is. And I was like, I just literally found that was at the train station between Camberwell and Carshalton. And there was that door that just opened up, and it said the waiting room, and I took the pic, and that was it. So it all just came together in a really strange way.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. We've got Faisy. Faisy's joined us from India today.
Nice, hello.
So it's amazing. And Samia's just said hello. Andy's going mad. Yeah, he's clearly your biggest fan, I think. But yeah, no, he's just saying, well. The album is beautiful. But you mentioned New York, and you have told me the story about that song in particular. And it involves a journey to the other side of the pond, doesn't it?
It certainly does, yeah. And it's a weird thing, because I used to sit and study. I mean, I was studying music at Carshalton College, and I was being taught by this really cool American tutor of mine. And she was like, Chloe, you're going to be bigger in the US than you are in the UK. And I remember thinking, but I haven't even got any music out. Like, I was like, what is going on? But I just laughed. And then in the lessons, like, she would be teaching, and she kept coming behind me, and I'd be watching Jeff Buckley live in New York City, or like Springsteen, and studying it. And she was like, you're not actually listening to my lessons. She said, but it's fine, because you're actually studying the greats. So I guess that works. And I was like, just adamant on, just every time I'd get a minute, I'd just be watching these live videos and just studying them and their craft and how they interacted with the crowd. And it was like years and years. And from that, like, I had a moment where I didn't have a voice. I just claimed I was a guitarist. And then she said to me, I went into my school, and she said, you're going to have to go home, because of a childhood friend of mine had suddenly died of meningitis, and we grew up together. Like, her younger brother was my best friend growing up for our whole childhood, and it was quite a hard thing to accept. And I kind of turned up for school, and I was like, no, I'm staying here. I'm not going to go home. I need to be here. And she said, look, I'll make you a deal. Go home and come back with a song that you've wrote, and I'll let you back into class, because I was refusing to leave. So I went home and returned about 20 minutes later with the first song that I'd wrote, and it was called Brother, I Feel For You, and I've never released it or anything. And she literally put it on in front of the class, and the whole class was just sitting there, and then the whole class was crying, and there was this song that I wrote, and she was like, right, you're singing it at the end of term. And that was the first time I'd ever used my voice or ever had anyone hear anything to do with writing. So I think in a way I was quite lucky that she had inspired me to go and write something really meaningful, because then that literally changed everything. And I've always used the same concept for writing for the rest of my life. So yeah, I'm quite lucky for that sort of lesson and stuff.
So you've never released that song. It stays very personal to you. Have you performed it before, like to a group?
Yeah, never released it. Yeah, I performed it at this end of term like bash in the hall, and where I studied at college, there was a lot of people doing like rap music, and they were really cool. And I was like this girl with my guitar with a Nirvana t-shirt on, you know, which was fine. But it was kind of like the crowd that I never thought I would actually win over. So I remember I actually threw up before I went on stage. I was so nervous, and I hated anything like that. And she was just like, get on and sing the song and think about the meaning behind it. And I did it, and the whole room was just really quiet, and I couldn't tell if it had gone terribly wrong or if it was amazing. But it was actually it was amazing apparently. And you know, in terms of a performance, I wouldn't say it's my best, but it was the first one to start off my love for it, really. And then I just looked out and thought, wow, these people are actually understanding what I've been through. And it was like, that was like bang, suddenly I knew there was something I could do. And all that studying then led me on to, now I've done this. And I'm quite a dreamer. So rather than just thinking, right, I've done that and I'm going to start writing and releasing it, I was like, right, I'm going to New York, you know, off the back of that. Because my mum was so inspiring to me, and she was like, you do whatever you want to do. So I was at home, like packing up my case. I mean, I couldn't even get to Croydon without getting lost. And I was like, that's it, I'm going. And suddenly I was at the airport waving goodbye, and that was it. I was with my guitar that I could barely play, and I had literally a handful of songs. And I took off and headed towards America, New York, in fact, and touched down in JFK, and that was scary.
You were going to conquer the American charts.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do at 19 with a couple of songs and a 60-pound guitar. And yeah, that was my big ambition, and I believed it as well.
And then I think the story goes that you went to was it a small stand-up club?
Yeah, I went to this place called Sidewalk Cafe, and it's full of musicians, and there's loads of musicians, and there's girls in there and that are like, if I perform tonight, I'm going to be famous. And I went there thinking that. So when I heard someone else say it, I had that moment of, what? No, this isn't what it's about. You know, I want to be a respected musician. So it was challenging everything that I thought. And this woman was like, oh, you're number 97 or something to perform. And I thought, I can't. I said, no. And I said to her, I can't wait that long. And she was like, what? I was like, I can't wait that long. And she was like, okay, fine. Well, I'll move you then. I was like, fine. And she was like, you don't come all the way from London, and you know. And I was like, no, I can't wait that long. I need to get on now. So she was like, okay. So she put me on at like earlier. So I jumped on stage. But that first performance there, I decided to sing this cover song, and I literally didn't really know it that well either. But it was like everyone in the room was talking, and the crowd, and I looked up at one point and I thought, this is not going well. And I think as a musician, you need to experience that. And it was actually a positive thing for me, a learning curve, because they didn't listen to me and they didn't turn around. And this dream that I had, it was like, you know, I was heartbroken. And I remember walking back to the hotel room thinking, I can't be doing that again. That was embarrassing. And and you know, at that moment I got into the room and I sat down, and I thought, I need to write some music. This isn't how I want to be known as an artist. I was like, what do I want to say? And I remember sitting there looking out of the window, and it was overlooking Times Square. Times Square is just absolutely crazy madness, lit up all night, constant traffic, constant people. And that's when I sat down, and in one take, I started playing the chords to New York, and then suddenly these words just fell out of my mouth, and I got goosebumps. I was shivering. I didn't know. I was a bit scared by that whole process. And I sort of wrote it, put the guitar down, and then I think I went and got a slice of pizza, and I thought, oh, that was really weird. And then I went back and thought, that's it, really weird. And I came home with this song. And then I thought, oh, I'll get a job and I won't do anything with my music. And that's when I walked into the Brook a few years later and played it. And everyone sort of was like, what? And then when I took it back into that, I went back to New York and thought, right, now I'm going to go and sing it in Sidewalk. And the woman who ran the open mic then, she was back again. And she was like, oh, London, you're back. And I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm ready now. And she was like, what, you weren't before? And I was like, no. I was like, but I am now. And she went, let me guess, you don't want to go on late? And I said, no. And she was like, okay, up you get then. I was like, okay. So I got up and said, I wrote this song called New York. And she said on the mic, she was like, oh, very clever. London comes back with her song called New York to sing in New York. And I was like, yep. And I started singing it and we were laughing, and then everybody just went quiet and stopped and turned around. And it was that moment where I thought, yeah, that was it. Like, that was exactly what I envisioned a few years before. And it happened, and I was so happy. And I met loads of musicians, and we were like talking about music, and I felt like suddenly I was respected as a writer, as well as having this dream, and it wasn't just in my head anymore. People could kind of believe it maybe and come along on the journey with me. So yeah, it was a life-changing moment, really.
Yeah, and it's such a wonderful story, and it resonated with me, and I know it'll resonate with many people here today. I love the fact that the lady that ran that stand-up club, she called you London. It's just I can just imagine her saying that. Can you remember what her name was? I'm just curious.
Oh gosh, I can't remember what her name
Maybe
is.
in New York.
Do you know what? I would guarantee that she still runs the open mic at Sidewalk, because I've been back many times to that venue, and she still calls me London, and I still get on stage. And for me, I always try and perform there. The last tour I went on, unfortunately, I said to her, I was like to her, well, now I've got a band. And she was like, oh, really? Coming back again? And I was like, yeah, I need to have a full slot this time. I need my own show. And she was like, well, what, you're not doing the open mic? I was like, no, I want my own show. And she was like, unfortunately, we're doing refurbs, but I would have totally loved to have had you on. But so I'm in contact with her, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to get back and do a full show there, because that place has been such a massive part of my journey.
Yeah. Well, I think Sammy is now just calling you "Hey London" when the magic happens, right? So I think it's your new nickname. The truth comes out. I think it's a beautiful time of today's show, actually, because we're probably about a third of the way in, and I know you've played the song a few times, and I wanted to ask very nicely, please.
Yeah,
would you like to play it?
I've just realised I haven't actually tuned up my guitar, so
Oh, that's good.
let me just quickly check that I'm all okay. But yeah, if anyone is a musician out there and wants to get out, there is a massive circuit in America of open mic nights, and it's bigger than here. So obviously, thinking of the Brook and places like that, in the local area, there is a lot of music nights going on, but New York is like every single sidewalk has a different bar, and you can go and play across them. So I highly recommend it, even if you just love listening to music. Sorry, the joys of having a 12-string as well. Okay. All right, this is New York then. Why not, hey, as we're talking about it? New York, is anybody there? I just stepped off the plane, unprepared. New York, why are you so cold? Can you see this little girl is getting old? Well, you will find me in the bar on my own, not singing for fame, no. I'm singing for home. New York, where is it you go? When you just wanna be left, yeah, on your own. New York, try to open up. You're not the only one here carrying a half-empty cup. Well, you will find me in the bar on my own, not singing for fame, no. I'm singing for home. New York, does it pour when it rains? Well, I think you've only got yourself here to blame. New York, why are you so scared? Can you see that nobody here really cares? Well, you will find me in the bar on my own, not singing for fame, no. Singing for home. Oh, yeah, you'll find me in the bar on my own, not singing for fame, no. Singing for home. Oh, New York, New York.
Hey, oh, brilliant! Absolutely lovely. No, it's strange, isn't it? Performing to an audience that you can't see or hear. And describe what that's like, because I know what it's like. I mean, I work in performance arts as well. Kieran is actually just commenting here, and I actually attended a pop-up festival that he had on Saturday, which was amazing to perform live. But I know all of us are desperate to get back into performing live. But how did you find just performing that now? Describe it to me. How you've, let's just say, let me put it another way. How have you managed to perform, putting all that energy in, but not being able to feel your audience?
Because I think it is the same as when there is an audience. And this is a really interesting question, because for me, the scariest gigs are when there are a couple of people at your house and they're like, play me a song, Chloe, play me a song, because it's just you and them. But the bigger the audience, and the fact I don't think it matters that you can't see them, but it doesn't matter how big the audience is. I always just tune into the story and the feeling. And I think that's why you'll notice sometimes when I'm performing, I might laugh or smile or have that sort of, you know, look on my face when I'm about to sing the heavier parts, because I'm reliving it in my mind. And I think that's where the passion comes from. So there's a bit of nostalgia in that song where it makes me laugh, because it's almost like a love-hate song about New York. So although I obviously adore New York, and a lot of people know me for that song, but you know, when you actually look at the lyrics of it, it's like, well, it's talking about myself in New York. So it's like all the things that I was questioning at 19. So it's like, New York, why are you so scared? Can't you see that nobody here really cares? And it was like that questioning was about myself. Why am I so scared? And it's like, does it pour when it rains? Well, you've only got yourself to blame. Like, and you know, I think for me, it's like when you're saying something that other people, I think, will understand, or that they might have experienced, and they start listening to you, then it doesn't really matter the size of the audience. I think it's a story that you're telling, and it's a journey, and I feel like people will come with you on that journey if you're honest and true about what you're saying as well. So for me, it's just about you know, reliving that that stuff. And it can be songs that are heartbreaking or horrendous to sing for me, or it could be songs that I think, yeah, they need to hear this because it's going to help them, you know. So it's a strange thing. And I'm really not that confident in terms of, you know, if I'm honest, is like I'm quite shy. And you know, when people see me out or they say hello, like yesterday someone's like, hey, I'm like, hi. Like, I'm really shy. But when I get a guitar and I'm trying to tell a story, it's like this thing takes over. And I can't even believe, my mum even says, I don't know how you're doing that, because you know, when I was 19 in New York and someone said hello to me, I didn't even say anything back. I was too shy. So it's like the audacity then to get on stage.
Well, it resonates with, I mean, it resonates with me as well. But I'm just thinking about what you've just said, because the first time I got to know of you was when Samia was interviewing you as part of her new show that she has on Juice FM. There's a little plug for you, Samia, from what's it, 10 o'clock until 12 o'clock every Saturday morning.
It is,
But and then you followed on as well. So you have your own show now on Juice FM as well, which is just after that, isn't it?
Yeah, and that was a weird thing as well, because I started this online thing. Oh, I you know, in lockdown here, it was like, I said to two of my mates who perform regularly at open mics with me, oh, should you put on a show tonight? And, you know, Peter and Paul, which is so funny. And they were like, yeah, why not? So we went, literally, I was like, okay, we'll just do it tonight. We'll go live 8 o'clock and we'll see how it goes. So I remember we went online, and then suddenly I just took on this like host role. And I do run open mics. I've done it for like many years. And presenting has always been a passion of mine, as well as being a performer. And I think they go hand in hand anyway. And I, you know, literally just from talking to them online and saying to them, oh, you know, what song are you going to sing? And it naturally happened. And then this show started. And at the end of it, I was like, oh, it's a free show for everyone. They're going to love it. And then they're like, same time next week. And I was like, what? So I suddenly thought, why not? And then the radio show came about from there. And then I started looking worldwide at how much music there was undiscovered in the world. And I got that shiver moment again of like, oh my God, like how can there be so many musicians like myself all over the world that aren't getting heard, with huge passions for it and amazing stories to tell that just aren't getting out there. So for me, that was the moment where I thought, right, this is now not even, there's also a part of me that isn't about me, that's about trying to help other acts. And there was a passion, and, you know, inside where I was like, I have to do this. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So yeah, I feel very lucky that I've got the two platforms to do that on right now. And I love being on Juice FM. It's great fun. But I put on 2 hours worth of music every week, but without any, from all purely undiscovered music, all around the world. And when you start diving into that world of undiscovered musicians and music, there is literally an endless amount of music right now out there, which is scary. that is just waiting to be found, and seriously talented musicians. And I think for me, there was always that thing, you know, going through open mic nights and being around loads of musicians my whole life and fighting your way on the stage. And then a lot of musicians, it's a weird thing, open mic, because some musicians I used to felt like didn't really want to support other musicians, or there was that weird thing of, well, I'm better than you. And then I had that real argument in my heart around that. And I was like, this isn't right. This is so weird and alien. We should be supporting each other. I don't understand that. So I just started reaching out to people and, you know, supporting them, buying their music. And then it was a matter of, I had a manager helping me get on the radio, and I started asking him, and we helped other people get on the radio. And it was like, why don't people share how to do things and help each other? Because my story is going to be so different to theirs, but it's still valid. Their stories are just as valid as mine. And I think coming together and bringing as many people together around the world almost will make us like an unstoppable force. And then that's how a movement starts. So for me, it's the passion about helping that, because I loved in the 60s the New York movement, and when I went there, the movement's gone. It's not there, but there is, you know, something happening there. It's just this like fear of, I think people just look at making it as a musician as being on this humongous label and being signed. Well, I see it differently. It's like, I wanted to go on tour last year, so I took myself on tour. I didn't have anyone backing me. That's what I mean. It's like I take these ideas and I might run with them in a crazy way, but it's like, well, why can't you do that as a musician? And who's going to tell you that you can't make an album and release it yourself? Like, yes, you can get a label, but all that is really is alone in essence. Unless you're working with an amazing team of people that really adore your music, you're better off just going for it and supporting others. And for me, that's like the biggest thing, is that I want to reach out to as many musicians and support them. And it's lovely because live on air, there's never that issue. Everyone's celebrating each other's music and we're talking about it and we're linking. And like, I'm planning now to go over to like Ohio and San Francisco and hang out with bands that I never would have met in my life. But that's so cool. And they're going to come to London, hopefully, and play and things like that. So I don't know where this is going to take me, but it's a really exciting moment in my journey, because, you know, I'm getting to meet musicians from around the world and sharing my music and they're sharing theirs. And I think that's an amazing thing. So,
well, and just going back to what I was talking about, was when you were talking about, you know, how shy you are. But I came to know of you, and then I joined your Saturday evening show, which is Chloe Ray Presents. And I was just blown away, right? And I sat there and I remember sitting in the kitchen and I'd opened up a bottle of wine and I just sat there for like 2 hours. I think you were very good at the beginning, Chloe. You stuck to the 2 hours. And then the following week, I think it went to 3 hours. And then you just went, you know what, guys, let's just carry on playing music. But that seemed to be my ritual, and it still is. You know, Saturday evenings is like, right now I'm listening to Chloe and all the bands, and I still cannot get over. I mean, one example was Tony Patience, who you brought on, and he had like a $10 or £10 guitar, and the music that he delivered out of that was, well,
so this is the key of it as well, is that, like, you know, I have spent a lot of my time in Wallington and Carshalton and this area that I live in, and you know, there's a great place to perform music, and I'm really lucky to have a lot of people locally supporting my music. That's the confidence that it gave me. But thinking outside of that box, it's like people like Tony Patience, who are just hanging around with their guitars here. It's taken me a long time to realize that although it's great here and I would never change it here, it's like, in order to branch out, it's almost like I was too scared to. I mean, I didn't play in London live, can you believe this, until like last year. I was that petrified of performing in London. And it's like, I've never really explored that, but I'm happy to go to New York and sing my heart out, you know, or anywhere in the world. It's just like, it's just a very strange thing for me. But, you know, all it takes is like Tony with his £10 guitar is a prime example. But his love of it would take over. It doesn't matter that he's playing a £10 guitar. But it's unbelievable that he's not been found and he's not a superstar, because in my mind, that's real music. And I I find it hard sometimes to listen to the radio if it's some, if I feel like that it's not authentic, or like I just don't buy it. Do you know what I mean? For me, I'd rather go and hear Tony Patience on his £10 guitar, who's going to tell me a story about something he's actually been through, that he's experienced, that's probably going to impact my life, than turn on the radio and somebody that might not necessarily be writing their own songs is performing them. I mean, for me, I always chose £10 guitar.
Yeah. Now you touch on something as well, because I know this is something that you wanted to talk about today. And I'm conscious we're already 41 minutes into the show, but mental health has been a big thing for you, and you've been very good and very open at sharing your story and other people's stories, and giving them the opportunity, having the stage to tell their story through music. But you wrote a song about a friend, and I wondered if that was something you wanted to talk about today, a tragic moment in your life.
Yeah. So so when I was growing up and stuff, I used to sing at an open mic night in Sutton, actually. Neil's in Sutton, and every Thursday used to be absolutely rammed. And like the likes of Scott McFarlane used to go in there, and I was 17 when I started going. I was underage, sneaking in. And I met this guy, and he was a musician, and we just had this friendship that came from that. And he would get up, and then I would perform. And when I was performing, I didn't have that much to say at that age, but he would stand directly in front of me and be like my only fan, one person listening. And he was like, "Chloe, you're going to be amazing." He was like, "You're going to make it. This is so exciting." And he genuinely believed in me. And we had this like superb friendship that was based around our mutual love of music. And I've never really spoken about this, but we spent years in and out of that bar and performing and sharing our crazy dreams. Like, I'm going to go and record this album. He was like my soulmate in terms of that. And unfortunately, he subsequently ended up committing suicide. And it definitely rocked my boat at that moment. And I remember it was a hard thing to swallow as well, because he had like confided in me some stuff like about like what he was going through. But I think at the time I didn't really pick up the signs that he was going to do that. And I was actually the last person that saw him alive. And I subsequently ended up going and looking for him and trying to find him. So after this big experience that I had, I suffered with post-traumatic stress for, it's been 11 years now. But I feel like I've made peace with that. I'm definitely at a point in my life where I've, moved on from that. But there was a song, again, I had to address that in a song. And for me, I always go to music, because I feel like mental health, although the stigma of it is sort of like, there's a huge stigma around it and people don't necessarily understand. But I think it varies from like, you just having a bad day to some serious stuff that you might have experienced or been through. And it's the same as like somebody who witnesses a car accident or something, or is in one, then it can trigger stuff that you don't necessarily deal with, and that can come back. And I just think we're very complex as humans. And I think things that affect us, of course, they're going to have that impact. And I don't think it's about getting rid of anything. I think it's just learning to live the way that you should live and be yourself still, and focusing on the positives around that, So for me, I wrote this song called Someone Good. And the last thing he said to me was, "You're going to be someone, Chloe, someone good." So I wrote Someone Good, and it was the hardest things I had to do, really. And I'd sometimes steer well clear of performing it if I'm not feeling too great myself. The band are always like, "Are we doing it? Are we doing it today?" And then I'll just be like, "Oh, we're doing it." But it's a heavy one for me. And but it's also a beautiful thing. It was like it's a conversation, between me and him. And and it was this thing of like almost the slant of him, what he did, his actions, actually the impact that had on me. And I lost a part of myself, I think, in those days as well. So that song is really like, and how how long will this go on when you're no one good, and how much will you give up just to become someone good? And it was like this beautiful moment of, you know, me saying to him all the things that I wanted to say, but I never got a chance to say. So when I sing that sometimes now, it's like my, you know, my piece towards experiencing that. And I've had people reach out to me and say, you know, that song's really saved me. It's really helped me. I've been going through stuff, and that's what I love. You know, there's a reason why you write things and experience things, and yeah. So Someone Good is definitely one of those songs.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I know it is hard, and I was very fortunate to actually hear you perform that piece. It was one of the evenings you did on a Saturday night, and it truly is amazing.
Yeah.
So we didn't talk much about your other releases, your other EPs.
No, yeah, we didn't.
So I'm sure there's a song in one of those that maybe we could entice you to.
Yeah, I'm up for playing anything, whatever you want.
You decide. You choose.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there's on Reprise was our second record, and that one kind of took me by a bit of shock, really, because I sort of thought, okay, I've got to release the first one. I thought, oh, it's amazing. All my good songs were gone. The second one, I thought, what am I going to do? What have I got to say now? And there was a lot of songs in there that I loved. And the title track Reprise is you know, a big part of that as well. But what could I sing you from that? I'm trying to think. There's quite a few on there. Yeah, let me think. I've got A Long Time Ago, which is like, you know, the story about.
Sounds great.
Yeah, let's do that one.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this one was about this girl that dumped me, and so I was like, right, I'm going back to New York. So off I went with my suitcase. I was like, bye, Mum. She was like, oh my God, here she goes. And I thought, I'm doing Route 66 this time, and I'm going to go to Vegas, and it's going to be amazing. But I stopped off in New York and met this guy called Mohar. Inside Walk Cafe, actually, as well, which is even more scary now. And he'd just been dumped, and he'd come all the way from France. And he had this dream to be a musician, right? And so did I. I think he was like me at 19, where he thought he'd make it from one trip. And I was like, yeah, good luck. And he told me his girlfriend was trying to get back with him, and she cheated on him. And I said, don't ever do that. And when I returned a few years ago, I had to make up this ending to the story. And when I returned, I was like, did you get back with her? Because I wrote this song and I need to know, because otherwise I need to change it. He was like, I didn't get back with her. I'm still here, obviously. So it came true. So this is a song called A Long Time Ago. Here we go. Well, my love, she left me a long, long time ago. So I headed west on the freeway towards New Mexico. She said, ain't it funny how these things kinda go? Well, I take my chances on some old rodeo. And I know, you know. Where did you go? You go, yeah, yeah. Well, my love, she left me a long, long time ago. So I headed west down to Vegas to go see a show. She said, ain't it funny how these things to go. Well, I'll take my chances on winning that old lotto. And I know, where did you go? You go, ah, yeah. Well, my love, she found me down in New Orleans. And I was dancing and singing the blues down in the streets. She said, ain't it funny how these things kinda go? My new man left me, babe, so let's go home. And I know, babe, I know that I've got to go. Hey, the road is my home, my home. And I'll take my chances, babe. I'm being alone. Yeah. Cool.
I put my thing on mute and I was clapping and applauding you, and I'm not accustomed to that.
That's okay.
Silent applause.
That's totally fine.
Oh, fabulous. Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know as we come into this last, goodness me, we've got 8 minutes left of today's session. But let's talk about something which has been a topical subject matter, talking point, which is this world we're working in now where everyone's expecting stuff for free. And I know that as a performing artist during lockdown, it's been a real challenge competing, one could say, with free. But you as a working musician, you do have things available to buy. So I guess if someone wants to buy your music, Chloe, how do they go about doing that?
So you can obviously buy a CD or something off me directly. You can message me and I can, if you're local, hand deliver it to you, which I love to do, right? And that's so random, I know. But sometimes I go out with a backpack and I'm like, who wants CDs? And I just go around and deliver them. And I literally sell them for £5 each. So, you know, there's 3 albums that you can buy. I don't know how many of the second album I have left because I only ran off a limited amount, right? So once you have, I'll show you one of them. Here we go. Oh, here you go. Here's one of the second album, Reprise. So obviously, I think this might be one of the last ones I have. So if you want that, that's £5. And then there's the first one, the Waiting Room, as well. And then my latest one, I have a couple of copies left too. But once they are out, I wanted to keep it really as like an exclusive thing because I do have plans to release an album soon. And all of this stuff will be eventually wiped off of my Spotify account. And then I will have just one full album available. So these will become limited edition, which is so cool because the people that have been there from the start will have them. But you can go on iTunes and it's all there to download, and that helps me climb the charts. And you can go on Spotify and listen to it as well. I think Spotify pays me something silly like 0.0001.
Yeah.
But just keep it on repeat for like the rest of your life. That would be great. But in all honesty, you can listen to it for free online on Spotify. or you can download it on it's everywhere.
Yeah.
If you just type it in, you'll be able to find it.
So what's the best way people can contact you, Chloe?
You can drop me a message, or you can email me at chloeraymusic@yahoo.com. Or you can drop me a message on my Facebook page. I've got a Chloe Ray page that if you go and like over there, you get to see when we go live. I sing every week now on my live show on a Saturday, 8 till 10 p.m. And I also have a radio show from 12 till 2, straight after the talented Samia. So it's her show. So yeah, you can join us on that journey.
Yeah, fantastic. And I know everyone that's joined us on Crowdcast, we will send the contact details for Chloe. So you'll receive that as an email message. So we're coming towards the end of today's show, and I know you've only played 2 pieces, and I'm sure there's a piece that you're going to say, I wish I played that. So I'm going to give you that opportunity now, Chloe. What would you like to play?
Oh, okay. Oh, God, that's hard. I don't know whether I should do a cover or an original.
Let's do a cover. We haven't. I know you do love it. I mean, you've got some amazing covers out there. So
yeah, I mean, there's 2 covers that I love at the moment. One's a Bob Marley cover, which is obviously a really cool one that I love to do, and the other one's a Bruce Springsteen cover. So it's between those 2, really.
Okay, let's see. Let's ask the audience. Audience, first one that comes back. Oh, Bruce.
Do Bruce. Okay.
Do Bruce.
Okay, I might have to move back from the microphone as well. But yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in, and I'm going to do this cover for you. This is my lockdown go-to song, where I've been sitting in this room singing it. Anyway, this is Dancing in the Dark. Here we go. Come home in the evening, and I ain't got nothing to say. Come home in the morning, I go to bed feeling the same way. I ain't nothing but tired. Man, I'm just tired and bored of myself. Hey, baby, I could use just a little help. You can't start a fire. You can't start a fire without a spark. This gun's for hire. Even if we're just dancing in the dark. Messages keep getting clearer. Radio's on and I'm moving around the place. Check my look in the mirror. I wanna change, close my hair, my face. Man, I ain't getting nowhere. And I'm just living in a dump like this. Something happening somewhere. Come on, I just know that there is. You can't start a fire. Can't start a fire without a spark. This gun's for hire. Even if we're just dancing, yeah. You can't start a fire. Worrying about your little world falling apart. This gun's for hire. Even if we're just dancing in the dark. You sit around getting older. There's a joke here somewhere and it's on me. I shake this weight off my shoulder. Come on, baby, the laugh's on me. Stay in the streets of this town, and they'll be carving you up alright. Say you gotta stay hungry. Well, babe, I'm just about starving tonight. I'm dying for some action. I'm sick of sitting around here trying to write these songs. Need a love reaction. Come on, baby, give me just one look. Can't start a fire. Can't start a fire without a spark. This gun's for hire. Even if we're just dancing, you can't start a fire. Worrying about your little world falling apart. This gun's for hire. Even if we're just dancing in the dark. Even if we're just dancing in the dark. Hey, baby. Even if we're just dancing in the dark. Hey, baby. Even if we're just dancing in the dark. Hey, baby. Even if we're just dancing in the dark.
Woohoo! I think I'm shouting for everyone. Everyone's singing along, and Sammy is worried that she's upsetting her neighbors, but I can't believe that they would ever get upset with the wonderful Samia. Chloe Ray, what an honor to have you as a guest speaker today for What's Your Story. I wish you all the best, amazing success ahead. I know, it's just, you are a celebrity, you are, and just seeing you live the other day was amazing. So
thank you so much, Andy, and thanks for having me on, and it's been a real pleasure. I love this show, and I tuned in before, so. Well,
thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for joining us today. I know we're slightly over the hour, but I think we've listened to some amazing music. So wherever you are, let's give Chloe Ray a big round of applause and some whoops. Throw the comments out there. But please do share to your friends and network about What's Your Story. We have at this time every second Thursday, and we do have a great lineup of guests coming along, and there's always a musical element as well. So something different to break up your day. So it's bye-bye from me, Andrew Coppin, and thank you again, Chloe Ray.
You're so welcome. Thank you all, everyone.
Take care, guys.
Cheers.
All right. Bye-bye.